What's good, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Closing Beat. My name is Dustin Tibbetts, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is our stock market update. You can see all the information going along across the screen. We'll cover all of it. And then, of course, if you have questions, you're watching us live, let us know. Or, send us a tweet or something. Maybe follow us on Twitter. I am going to be posting more and more there. Just daily things going on with the markets that maybe you don't have time to watch TV or kind of scour the news to find out. Well, let's talk about the stock markets today because it was a rather interesting day. I actually put the 5-minute time period down here again to show you because what happened, man, we started lower. I almost tweeted about it last night. I was up to like 2 o'clock in the morning, almost tweeted it. China was selling off, and it really wasn't so much of a story as just China. Because remember, yesterday we talked about that big rally in China. It was about a 4% gain. That tends to happen in downtrends. So it really wasn't like a sign of a bottom or anything. We pointed that out yesterday. Overnight they gave it all back. Basically, it just sort of retraced almost the whole gain from the day before, which would have been Sunday, our time. And so what happened is as China got weaker, everybody else got weaker too. Europe, France, Germany, Japan. If you looked all around the world, it just started getting weaker and weaker, 1-2% losses across the board. So our stock market's open. You can see on the day, the red dashed line represents yesterday there. And then down here, you can see where the market's open much lower than the previous day. We actually sold off like 500 and some points on the Dow. That was the big headline number. And then all of a sudden, people were like, wait a minute. For what? What's the news? Give me something new to work with. You had 3M and things like that in the news with regarding earnings. We'll talk about that as well. But that was pretty much what caused the market to start off lower. And then throughout the day, you could see it just slowly started to recover. Now, we didn't go positive on the day. Think about that. Why wouldn't we go positive and retreat? We didn't have any news, right? If there was something that said everything was somehow better in China or there was some global news or something, we would have had reason to go positive. But if you think about it, what's to stop China from just selling off again in a couple hours when they open back up? And so investors, I think, were a little hesitant to sort of take that additional risk going forward. Anyways, you can see it on the screen there. The Dow finished the day down 125, about 0.5%. That's not bad considering where we were, so honestly, I'll take that. S&P sold off 0.5% as well, and then you can see it there. The Nasdaq was actually the worst performer for a while. Tech stocks got a little support there. So if you're following any of the tech stocks, you may have noticed a little bit of support. Let me see if this will actually switch over to the charts there, and we'll just go straight to the mix now. Support. We've been talking about this support for some time in here, right? This uptrend here on the Dow, we pierced through it today. Actually, if you follow Fibonacci numbers, you happen to notice right where things stopped today for the Dow. Same on the S&P 500. That is a support area there that people like to look at, even though we broke through this support. So in my opinion, if we do not really quickly sort of regain control over this trend, tomorrow investors could be looking to try to start the day by selling off again. So if you're a short-term trader, you don't have this. It's nice today that you see that bottoming tail and that buying pressure come in. I don't think you have enough to really solidly be comfortable about that recovering here. So you want to see a quicker bounce there. If we go across the different things here, semiconductors, they did get hit. I want to point out a couple things as I go through these sectors about the markets and where they're at. So stick with me for a second. Semiconductors sold off, very extended here in the short term there. Oil was the worst performer today. That was the whole Saudi Arabia thing going on in there. They said that they'd be a responsible role player in the global oil trade and how things are going there. Basically, they're going to produce a little bit more, and now we got confirmation that that's going to happen. So anything energy related, oil exploration related, service, parts, things like that, they all sold off today, were some of your weaker areas. Now, think about this. Watch on the charts here for a second. We know that oil is weak, right? You can see it on the charts there. That's an ETF for oil. We know the oil services companies are weak. We've seen that. Those have made new lows there. Oil explorers making new lows there. Energy making new lows. Transportation stocks making almost new lows there. Look how much that's sold off. Follow that daily movement. Transports being one of the areas to get hurt pretty hard over the last couple weeks. Materials making new lows down there. Emerging markets making new lows. Stay with me. Financials making new lows. What do we got here? Mexico making new lows. Brazil coming off the lows a little bit. Healthcare, not as bad, but making lows there here over the last couple months. You've got consumer discretionary stocks. They've pulled back aggressively. Retail stocks, they've pulled back aggressively. Consumer staples hanging in there. Remember that breakout we talked about? That's looking okay. And then gold, that sort of counter trend or inversely correlated type products. Gold miners, those are actually starting to do pretty good. And home builders, you want to talk about new lows. So we went through a bunch of different sectors there. And now think about this. This is my opinion. Found out I'm allowed to give you some of this opinion here. The markets, what have they done over the last couple weeks? They've sold off aggressively. And so what's happening? Everybody's going, oh my God, is this the beginning of a recession or not? You know, what's going on? Earnings and the economy can support everything that's going on right now. So it's not that the economy's turning around yet. We don't have any sort of real news to push that. However, we've got stocks that were mixed all over the place. Remember about a month ago, I made a big deal to our customers. Look, stocks are going everywhere here. We need to widen out our investments. Now, you've got everything heading in the right direction. So in an uptrend, to continue an uptrend, you need everything going together. That wasn't happening. We pointed it out many times. Now what you have is, in a downtrend, if everything is going to get weaker, you need everything going together. I just listed basically everything is selling off. What does that mean? In my opinion, if you got to look to the rest of the year, they're selling everything off now. You saw a little bit of that tech buying come in today. If we continue to see people buy these dips, that means that they're going to buy it up going into the end of the year. So that's sort of my prediction that you're not supposed to make any investment decision on. But I think they're really selling everything off to push this market into higher into the end of the year is what I was trying to say there. So anyways, that was my little thing there. I wanted to go through that and show you those different sectors, those different categories of the market so that you could see what's going on there. You look at your portfolio and you go, oh my God, everything's selling off. What's going on? If we think ahead here, is everything selling off and then there's about ready to be a little bit of buying? If earnings continue down this path, so. But if they continue down this path, we could have a recipe for a market that takes us into the end of the year. So stay tuned. You know we're going to cover it. We'll be all over it. Okay, as far as earnings today, here's what we had. You had United Technologies, about a 3% gain on the day. They beat on earnings and revenues. They raised their full year guidance. Aircraft parts. If you want to know why this company did so well, aircraft parts. Remember we did a whole thing on Boeing and how there were so many different orders for aircrafts and then the Chinese companies, the Russian companies that were building all these airplanes, right? So we did that, right? And now United Technologies is saying, hey, because of all these airplanes being built and delivered out there, parts were one of their biggest categories. So aircraft parts helping them out there. Caterpillar made the news today for busting down to new lows. Much of the Dow looks like this, by the way. Breaking to new lows. It lost about 7.5% today because the company didn't raise their full year forecast again. So it's not that they didn't, they didn't raise it and that's already a red flag. They didn't raise it again. They have not. And so a lot of people think, a lot of the analysts are starting to say, well, maybe this is their hint at a slowdown because they do not expect good things going forward. Otherwise, they would raise their guidance. So it's sort of we caught them, in that respect. Harley Davidson down 2% today. Basically, earnings weren't so bad. Everything was actually pretty good. Europe, stronger sales in Europe, so they were happy with that. However, this tariff thing is just such a mess there. They didn't raise their full year forecast. They spent $48 million already from costs in the trade war. They think that's going to be the number they'll spend for the rest of the year. They spent more on raw products for obviously building their bikes. And they expect that to continue as well. Investors were like, look, man, we don't care. We want you to make a profit. So the stock was down about 2% today. Just a little harder for them to make money. Verizon, we talked about this yesterday. So Verizon had the earnings. We pointed it out for you and said, if they have good earnings, that could be the catalyst to break out the stock. If you can spot these things ahead of time, you could make a pretty good active short-term trader. Well, here's the breakout. Earnings were good. I honestly have no way of knowing that. My assumption was if earnings were good, that would be something that could make the breakout. I didn't know they were going to have good earnings, just so I don't sound like one of those guys. Earnings beat, revenues beat, subscribers, new cell phone subscribers to their wireless plans 295. Everyone was only expecting 161, so 161,000 new customers was what everybody was expecting. They came in at 295, so a monstrous beat on Verizon. 5G seems to be going well as also. The one downside, by the way, which it seems like they're just going to get rid of these guys, Verizon owns, they have a division they call Oath. It's sort of ironic, but they call it Oath. And the inside of that is Yahoo, AOL, and some other names. Those are the biggest two names. That's not doing well. They're not making the money. They hope to be at $10 billion by 2022, I believe it was, and they're not going to get there. So a lot of investors today were excited by that because it looks like they may just try to get rid of it. I don't know. We'll see. Home builders, right? Remember last week I was like, don't you kind of want to buy these home builders? It's such a discount, right? I kind of got excited by it. Today, Pulte Homes up 7.25%. They beat on revenue. They beat on earnings. And mostly because these guys are adjusting. Pulte Homes was the first to come out and say, hey, we see that home builders are selling off. They have adjusted. They have fixed their costs, right? They've tightened up around the office and everything. So cost cutting and a slight increase in sales was what helped out Pulte Homes. But it's good to see these guys have very quickly said, uh-oh, we need to adjust. And they have. So the home builder's getting a nice little boost today. 3M, I'll go over this one real quick, 4 3/3%. They missed on earnings, missed on revenues. And because of that, you could see on the chart, yeah, you could see it, new 52-week lows. McDonald's global sales were incredible. So we asked the question yesterday, is it stale money to be investing in McDonald's? Global sales saved the day. U.S. sales, not so good. People don't go there as much as they used to. But globally, they did well. And now, global sales for McDonald's accounts for 2/3 of their overall revenue. So something to keep in mind going forward. I always thought it was 50-50. We are now at 2/3 of their revenue comes from global sales, not U.S. Only 1/3 in the U.S. All right. Tesla up 12.75% today. That one made the headlines again. So there's a guy that he's very famous for being a short seller, and he was all over TV when Musk was, smoking pot and told people he was going to take the company private. He even is actually suing Elon Musk and Tesla for the moment, but he was very short. And he magically changed his mind overnight, put out a whole deal saying, I have reverse course, I am going long on Tesla, they are crushing it, news, all of a sudden, somehow he has all this news that nobody else has, his research is amazing, and so because one guy said he was going long on Tesla, the stock added 12% on the day. We'll see, right? They have earnings tomorrow. Their production numbers have shown us that they should turn a small profit. So Wall Street is expecting them to show like a penny profit above expectations, right? We're expecting not to see them lose money because of the amount of cars that they put out. Tesla themselves said, if we can meet those production numbers, we would be able to turn a profit. We'll see. That'll be an exciting one to see tomorrow. Can I somehow switch this guy in there? For earnings tomorrow, it's not perfect yet. We're still dialing it in. AT&T, that's going to be a big one because of what Verizon said here, so everybody's going to pay attention to that. Boeing's going to be a big one because of what United Technologies said, so I put them in there. Northrop Grumman's going to be a big one because of what we talked about earlier with United Technologies and Lockheed Martin. They're in the same space. UPS, our first look at maybe how these transport companies are going to pick up. Remember, transports were one of the weaker areas. If UPS can help support the transports, that would help support my opinion that everyone's going to push this market to, back higher into the end of the year. Microsoft was down a little bit today. That one we have earnings coming out tomorrow. That's always an interesting one. AMD, that's Advanced Micro Devices, they will be coming out with earnings tomorrow. And remember, semiconductors have been beaten up. We're looking for Intel, we're looking for AMD, Micron Technologies, Texas Instruments. If you had a chance to follow them, they sold off today to start with their earnings. I believe they're down a little bit after hours. Was that the one that I saw? They are down. So Texas Instruments, your first look today, they're trading around 94, 95 at the moment. So AMD could be a big supporter of that. We'll see. That's tomorrow after the close. And then Ford canceled their analyst meeting. We want to see like a restructuring plan or something, but Ford hasn't really given analysts anything to go on there. So that'll be earnings tomorrow. Hopefully that helps and works for you. Then going into the rest of the week, we've got Twitter, Snapchat, Google or Alphabet, Chipotle, Grubhub, Southwest Airlines. Boy, you name it, man. Amazon's in there. I mean, I can't name all of them. General Electric, Nokia, Gilead Sciences, Western Digital. I could just go on and on. Weyerhaeuser, Phillips 66, Goodyear, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of earnings coming out is what I meant to say, which means the market being pressured to the downside here, any little good news and nothing out of China could help support this market. If you're a short-term trader, you see everything that's extended. And even if you're mid-term, long-term, you see this dip, right? I get excited. I could talk forever. But you see the dip in the market. You're not going to guess the bottom. So all of you that are long-term investors and you're like, I'll wait. Let me just see what happens. What if the market starts bouncing from here and you said you were going to wait to buy the dip? You got a dip, right? It might be time to take a look at that dip. Anyways, Tesla, we covered it. Beautiful. Browsy, I beat you to it. Or you beat me to it. Can someone answer the question, how long does it take to have to be considered going long? 1 month, 1 year? How long do you have to hold it before it's considered a short trade? You are asking two different questions there, Prince. Going long means buying a stock. Going short means betting on it going down. So if you meant to say, how long does it have to be before long-term capital gains? You got 1 year, 1 day. That's how it is. Short-term capital gains, less than 1 year, 1 day. I think that's what you're asking there. Oh, yeah, sounds like some of you guys got that there. Perfect. Daniel, Boeing, my assumption stays the same. We did actually a really short video overviewing Boeing completely. Looks like the 747's on its way out. They're only making one every other month now. Nobody wants them, right? But they're killing it on all the other ones. They've got about 2 years left to just dominate in that space, the 737 MAX and all those airplanes, because you got China and Russia within 2 years of building their own, and we know they're going to build the devil out of them. I think Boeing will do well, though. I don't see any reason to believe Boeing would do bad in this upcoming earnings announcement. Remember, they actually are rehiring retired employees and bringing them back out of their wheelchairs, putting them back to work because they're that busy. So it's sort of a joke, but they really are. Tech stocks, Hayden. I would like it if tech stocks fell a little bit more, to be honest, Hayden. I don't think that's enough to really get some of the valuations to areas that long-term investors would buy. I think you'll see a lot of short-term buying in there, but some of these companies are very rich, meaning they're trading expensive relative to their fundamentals. So honestly, I'd like to see them kind of come down a little bit more. Not so fast. They don't have to fall aggressively, just a slow drift so everybody sort of moves on. Then I would come back and be excited about that. You're 32, 100%. I'm done, by the way. If you got to go, you got to go. That's cool. I'm just answering questions. 32, 100% world diversified equity in 403. Too late to sell, holding cash in a Roth IRA. I buy weekly growth. I have no idea, Jesse, what that means. Sounds like you're saying you're diversified. You're holding cash in a Roth IRA. I would not hold cash in a Roth IRA. No matter where you're at, it's costing you money. So I would not hold that. I would put that to work. And it sounds like you're saying you're diversified in the rest. Thank you, Bruce. Always nice. Earnings don't seem to matter. The market's still down today after so many good reports. What gives? No, market's still lower on the day on a lot of misses, right? So you had maybe decent earnings, but remember, we talked about what these companies were going to look for. Not only that, you had a lot of names focused on the Dow. So the Dow really was going to struggle because of those earnings there. And that's going to continue. There's a lot more coming up. You're hoping lower, Ricardo. Stop losses. Hey, well, good job for using those stop losses. I have talked to a number of people that either have never heard of a stop loss or just chose not to use them, and they're very disappointed right now. Think Snap recovers anytime soon? No, there's no reason for it to. I mean, I wish them the best. I don't use the platform. We're going to find out Thursday after the close, but what would be the reason? Right? There's just, there's nothing there unless they can turn around. So any bet you make on Snapchat is a bet on them being able to turn this thing around, being able to generate a profit at 682. What is it? At 682, in my opinion, it's still expensive. But then again, that's me. Everybody's got an opinion, and that's what makes a good market. So that's all I have for you today. I have other work to do, and plenty of time to do it in, I guess, today. So I'm going to wrap it up there. We'll be back tomorrow. Remember the Doe Show every day, 1 p.m. We are doing retirement plans, your number, knowing how much to invest this week. We did I erased it. We did a detailed one today, really, really geeky. So I hope you enjoy that. And we'll be back tomorrow to do it. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe button. So many of you have done that. I am so grateful, by the way, for that, for all the talks and goals that I have and the conferences I want to do next year. All that matters to me is the data. So if you hit subscribe, that helps us out. And I'll continue to ask and continue to bug you. But you continue to watch. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Enjoy.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new Fin Tips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.